Hey folks, Eric is the whatever guy because it really is whatever for me. Do you folks want to know about this Ukraine medical marijuana bill and what I think about it? You guys stick around, man, and we'll talk about that. As you guys know, man, my name's Eric. I'm the whatever guy, and I usually shoot videos a couple days a week, basically keeping you guys updated in the world Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, hemp, cannabis, just what's going on around. And today, man, we're going to talk about this Ukraine medical marijuana bill. Now, this bill was actually introduced, I think, before the invasion started, but as we have moved into this Ukraine war and dealt with all the issues and stuff that are going along with it, in my opinion, this is just another way for them to do a big money grab. Now, I'm not sure if you guys are aware, but we have sent billions of dollars to Ukraine to fight a war that's been failed from the very beginning. Now, for those of you that don't understand the way things go overseas, man, they're just things are done different outside the country than they are here. Drinking ages and stuff like that. All of that stuff is done differently. And having said that, basically the argument has been since the very beginning is that we've been sending money over to Ukraine. This money has been finding its ways back into other people's pockets, like these politicians. I mean, how else can you explain how a politician can go into business or go into being in politics, making $50,000 to $60,000 a year, and come out on the other end of 20 years worth of service and political service and be a millionaire? Now, how is that even possible? So it makes you understand that there's a lot of ways that these politicians make money. Politicians don't get into politics anymore to serve their country. They get into politics now to pad their pockets, and that's basically what's going to happen with these Ukraine shit. We've already figured out that the billions of dollars and stuff that have been heading to Ukraine have been finding its way back to Bitcoin, suppositories, and a lot of places where a lot of things that these politicians do business with are making money off Ukraine. And this is a failed war. Like this is a failed war from the very beginning. We should have never even and had any part of any of that simply because we signed a treaty back during World War II that said we would not put a NATO nation up on Russia's border. And you have to come, you can say whatever you want about Putin, but Putin is basically the only person out there that is loyal to his own people. Our American politicians are not loyal to our people, and Putin is loyal to his people. And by the way, Russia is a Christian country, guys, for those of you who don't understand that. But having said all of that, in my opinion, this bill that they're doing with the medical marijuana is basically going to legalize marijuana in Ukraine. It's already a corrupt country. There's already a lot of mafia and stuff like that that goes on over there. And now we're going to open it up and allow them, these drug companies to come in here and basically make money. Now, this is, as opposed to before where our federal government was sending Ukraine money, now it's going to be these drug companies that are sending money to Ukraine that are fueling everything that's going on. And then my question to you guys is like, how is it possible for them to even deal with this during the process of losing a war? Like they're losing a war and they're having issues with like getting medical marijuana approved. And this medical marijuana bill basically only does one thing. It classifies it to Schedule 2, which in their books is basically Schedule 3, which is allow these pharmaceutical companies to come in here and take over the marijuana business and basically force it out into the people. And like I said before, there's a lot of things done different overseas than they are here. America's the only country in the world that will put a gun in an 18-year-old's hand and send him off to war, but then tell him he can't drink until he's 21. Other countries don't do that kind of shit. So when you go to Germany and you go to places like Ukraine, those folks over there, their 11-year-old kids are drinking liquor for lunch because that's their way of life. It's what they do. And so they have a different way of doing things over there. And for those of you that don't understand exactly what's happening, I'm gonna read this article so you guys can understand a little bit more. It says plans to legalize medical marijuana in Ukraine have been delayed following actions by the opposition party to block the signing of a bill approved by the country's unicameral legislature earlier this month. The leader of the Fatherland Party, Yulia Tymoshenko, who has consistently opposed the measure, said recently that her party intends to appeal to the Constitutional Court to cancel the legislative vote because the amendments to the bill were considered in a half-empty chamber, which makes sense, guys. Like with the war going on in Ukraine, with all the shit that's going on, how are they getting all these people lined up in one room to make a vote in the first place? And tactically, that would be really stupid. Like you would put all your opposition in one room so they could vote on these bills, and then Putin could basically just bomb the one place and kill the whole of the opposition at one time. So I don't even understand how they are even getting together and doing these assemblies to do these votes and stuff. Like that's a crazy situation to me. Like if I was one of those politicians, I would never want to be piled up in a room with anybody to be voting on medical marijuana or anything that had anything to do with the country. Tymoshenko, a former prime minister of the country, claimed that the proposal would legalize drug trafficking and the drug mafia in the country, though the local news outlet said she failed to provide any evidence of those claims. I urge you not to vote for this law because of this large criminal layer of problems that will be in Ukraine, she said during a speech on the bill, according to separate Fatherland Party press release. This is a big problem for teenage children and for people who are in a difficult psychological state due to the war. This law is a direct danger, and that's what and that's what you guys need to understand. These kids over there will have access to medical marijuana or any type of medical marijuana. Basically across the counter if they do this bill. They would allow them to put medical marijuana in pharmacies and allow them to buy this over the counter, the way I read the bill. And like I said before, there's countries out there, especially places like Germany, where they, in Ukraine and Russia, where those folks over there, at 10, 11 years old, they're drinking vodka for lunch. That's their Gatorade. There is no, difference in the law, saying that you got to drink when you're 18 years old, because that's their way of life. It's the way they do things. And it's going to be the same way with marijuana. It's expected the measure will remain blocked at least until mid-January, at which point Ukraine's parliament could unblock the bill and send it to President Vladimir Zelensky, who has indicated his support for the reform. Of course, because Zelensky already knows that he's fixing to lose. He's already been over here several times begging for money. He's not getting any more money from the federal government. So this is the way that he's going to get his money. He's going to allow these drug companies to come in here and basically take over the market and funnel the money to him that he needs. Olta Stefansanya, a member of the parliament and Ukraine's deputy prime minister for European and Euro-Atlantic integration, reassured medical marijuana supporters on social media that the setback is only temporary. Friends, don't panic. This is a standard and expected step. Supporters will overcome Tymoshenko's block in January, and then we will wait for the signature of the president. There is no way back. And I would imagine with Zelensky being in the position that he's in, needing the money that he needs to continue this failed war, to continue to fail to prop him up in a position that has basically been bribed. The vote that was taken. Those people in Ukraine do not like Zelensky. For those of you that aren't aware, the majority of Ukraine wants to be Russia. Okay, they want to be Russian, and they want to be reunited with their family. This is the same thing as a North and South Korea split. Basically, because there are a lot of people in Ukraine that have family members in Russia. They have considered themselves Russians for many years, and they can still consider themselves Russians. And this faction of Zelensky's is really the smaller part of Ukraine. According to the report from the Russian news agency TASS, Tymoshenko has claimed that there is no need for additional medical marijuana reform in Ukraine because cannabis use has long been approved for treatment of cancer and epilepsy. This is not about medical treatment, she said. This is because trillion-dollar narcotic drug businesses and drug cartels will bribe their way into the country, and a major drug trafficking ring will be established throughout Ukraine. And she is correct, because that is exactly why Zelensky wants them in there, and they're going to funnel him some money. That dude's probably the richest person in Ukraine right now, and a lot of you people don't even realize it. And if this war fails, Zelensky will be able to get on a plane and go, live in Argentina or wherever with the millions of dollars that he's earned from our federal government. The effort to scuttle Ukraine's legalization plan comes from after the unicameral legislature. The Verkhovna Rada passed legislation last week with 248 votes, overcoming opponents who attempted to block the proposal with a deluge of hundreds of what critics called spam amendments last month. To secure the final vote, lawmakers circulated a petition for a special procedure that required 150 members to sign on. They ultimately collected 164 signatures. Earlier this month, clearing the path for passage. While the text of the legislation as introduced only explicitly lists cancer and war-borne PTSD as conditions for which medical cannabis could be dispensed to patients, the chair of the health committee said in July that lawmakers hear daily from patients with other illnesses such as Alzheimer's disease and epilepsy. The bill moves marijuana from strictly prohibited under List 1 to available for medical use with a prescription under List 2 of the country's drug code. So again, that they're basically moving them to Schedule 2 in their country is basically the same as moving to Schedule 3 in this country. And we've had that argument many, many times on this channel. I've said many times that these legacy growers and these big MSOs and stuff like that think they have all the money. Allow the pharmacy companies to come in and take over the space, and I promise you we will find out that we don't have as much money as we thought we had, because the pharmacy companies are basically the ones that are pushing our government in the direction we want to go. We are the only country in the world, only one or two countries, I think Australia is the other one, that allows these prescription drug companies to post drug ads on TV. Okay, so as it stands in the future, when we move to Schedule 3 or they move to Schedule 3 in Ukraine, it will be the same way. Those people out there that are doing recreational and medical marijuana will not be able to advertise, but the drug companies will be able to advertise directly to you on your TV. All right, folks, whatever got signing off. Hope everything great week. I apologize for the rant this morning. I apologize for being all over the board. As you guys can see, I disagree with this whole Ukraine medical marijuana bill simply because they already have a medical marijuana bill. This is just another way for them to allow Zelensky to stay in power and to keep collecting money and pushing this failed war that we have in Ukraine, guys. This is a failed war and it's going to fail. It's already failed. And us keep pushing money over there is not going to help in any way around. And this is just another way for Zelensky and those guys to find a way to keep the money coming. All right, folks, this is whatever got signing off, and I'll talk to you guys later, man. Love you. See ya.